Hi, my name is Jeff Johnson, and I'm privileged to serve as the president of the Southern California section of the PGA of America. And I'm here today with some very esteemed colleagues who share a common purpose in the pursuit of having all of you golfers play a little more quickly. And we're going to begin a roundtable discussion this morning, and hopefully you'll enjoy some of the information. We're going to approach this by talking a little bit about what we as operators can do to help you play more quickly. And then we're going to talk a little bit about what you can do to play more quickly. And with that, I'd love to begin with some introductions.
My name is Rowland. I'm golf course superintendent at Rancho La Quinta Country Club and president of the High-Low Golf Course Superintendents Association.
I'm Mike Sweeney. I'm director of rules and competitions for the Southern California Golf Association.
Rafael, Barajas, golf course superintendent for Casino Golf Club and director with GCSAA.
Hi, my name is Tom Addis. I'm the executive director and CEO of the Southern California PGA and a past president of the PGA of America.
Hi, I'm Rob Keller, Director of Competitions and Rules for the Southern California PGA.
And I'm Bill Johnson, no relation to my buddy Jeff, and I am the president of the Golden State chapter of CMAA and the general manager at San Gabriel Country Club.
Beautiful.
Well, we hope to have a great morning this morning, talking about a subject that's of interest to all, and that is not only pace of play, but how to improve our pace of play, at the same time making it more enjoyable for everyone to play golf. One of the themes that we'll have as we go through is we'll talk about what's best for the player, how this group feels the player can improve themselves, as well as some of the behind the scenes information that will make it easier for our fellow golf operations people to make their golf course a little more playable as well, and to save time. What we'd like to finish out with at the end of this is to all of us agree that we'd like to save at least 18 to 20 minutes per round of golf. And when you think about that, that's a significant number, but it only takes a few seconds per hole to save that amount in 18 holes. So that's what we'll be looking at in this conversation, and you'll be able to view it as well as read it in the future as well. And with that, we'd like to start a little bit talking about player education and what a player can expect to help themselves, so to speak, improve, whether it's awareness of where the golf ball is on the golf course, whether it's where to park the golf car, where to leave their golf equipment as they move to the next tee. The Southern California Golf Association has a great pledge that many people in Southern California are using today to create awareness. And we'd like to have a little conversation in regards to what we can do better and what we can do to help our fellow golfer out on the golf course. And I know, Jeff, you had some ideas and things that you wanted to work
Well,
with.
the pledge, first of all, I thought was masterful, and the PGA has adopted the pledge, and we're having our members sign that very same petition, so that in the masses, I like to think that pace, if it becomes personalized in each group and everyone takes quite seriously the commitment of the pledge, timing becomes far more of a sensitive issue when the whole group's embracing the same concept. And that's where this pledge, I thought, was just a perfect idea at the right time. And I think it's going to make a difference.
I like that way I'm sorry.
Well, just to expand on the pledge, the SCGA Pace of Play Pledge is an initiative that the SCGA has on our website to really bring more awareness to the importance of pace of play and hold individuals accountable to be a solution for the pace of play issue. So we have had over 7,500 golfers throughout Southern California and across the states sign the pledge saying that yes, they want to see improvements in pace of play, and we're trying to promote pre-round awareness on the importance of, hey, I want to go to the golf course and have a good time, I want to shoot a good score, and I also want to play fast. So we're asking players to follow our tips, such as playing ready golf, trying to keep it up with that group in front of them, and playing in the time parameters that the golf course management requires. And that's kind of the emphasis behind this pace of play pledge, asking those individuals to focus on those things.
So you also put a responsibility on the golf course operator by by the pledge. And the golfer is more aware then of what the golf course is asking you to do. So there's kind of a double responsibility there then.
Yeah, definitely. We want the golf course operators to be aware of how long it takes for groups of 4, groups of 3, groups of 5 to play their golf course, and set those parameters and have pre-round awareness through customer service with their staff to let the players know this is what we expect from you when you're going to be playing our golf course.
You know, it's so important that operators have that statistical information and that empirical data that tells them over a long period of time exactly how long it does take to play their golf course. And you can use that. And then for any operator that doesn't track turn times and those kinds of statistics, they really should.
And I think one of the biggest things we're seeing through our use of the pledge and on our events is the promotion and requirement of our golfers playing ready golf. By being aware of what ready golf is and making an effort to play ready golf, we're finding that it is shaving, potentially that 18 to 20 minutes that we're asking to shave throughout the round.
I just love the power that comes from a whole group embracing the same idea, because then everyone is sort of watching everyone else, and that's where the power comes from, I think, with a program like that.
Where the power as an individual is that if I sign up and I'm playing with a new group that hasn't heard of this or doesn't know about it, to take the opportunity to help them out. Jump up on the par 3 tee, grab a yardage so that the people in the cart don't walk up and walk back, and those little things that I, as an individual assignee, can say, hey, I'm going to do this, help my group out, and then tell them where I learned it from the SCGA.
That's another thing with the pledge is offering tips, such as where you park your cart, using the tee it forward, playing the appropriate tees, those kind of tips that you can pass on to your friends. I think that's huge.
And it's the simple stuff like watching the people in your group's golf ball whenever it's struck. When you have 3 sets of eyes on a misdirected shot, it's a lot easier to make that search occur more quickly. And there's just a lot of strategies. Play with 7 clubs. You don't need 14, right? Fewer choices mean you move around more quickly, I think.
That's a good idea. I'd rather watch someone's ball than a lot of the swings that I see.
Bill, I know that we were at Ironwood, a private club, a few weeks ago for our professional official, and Ironwood is run and been very successful with the Tee It Forward program. And do you see, from your perspective, more private clubs participating in Tee It Forward, for example, than possibly public access golf courses?
Definitely, Tom. For instance, Ironwood's a great example. You know, our club at San Gabriel, we've just installed 3 additional sets of tees, forward tees, that have been rated by the SCGA, that now we can not only get our young people, but our new golfers, and also some of the senior members who just don't want to have to try to put it out there 220 yards anymore off the tee. We're seeing a lot of that. You know, one of the things that also, and this is just the world we live in, I think, is imagine how much time it's taking for those clubs that allow the technology to be used distance-wise. You know, you see guys, it says it right there, it's 168 yards. They're still pulling out their device to check how long it takes, how far it is. Technology is causing us to slow down. But definitely, you know, the Play It Forward has been accepted, I think, more so in private clubs than maybe the public. And we're starting to even encourage it. A lot of different type of ideas. For instance, on our Monday outings, we've all been in the situation of 5.5, 6 hour rounds for a Monday fundraising event at our clubs. Well, what are the things that we can do? We have our staff thinking, what can we do to make the day more enjoyable for those who are playing? We had an event recently with our club managers out at Morningside Golf Club in the desert. That was about a 5 hour and 15 minute round. And some of our participants, especially those who are members of private clubs, were getting upset that it was taking so long. They didn't like it. So they're putting the pressure on. So it's, you know, be it using forward tees in some of these events, limiting the number of participants, not the traditional 144, take it down. Love it.
Yeah, there's a lot of programs for youth in Southern California specifically, and I know San Gabriel just adopted a new youth program. And how have you integrated education regarding pace of play into the new youth program?
Well, you know, it's sort of a culture at a club like San Gabriel, which is one of your old traditional, you know, caddy clubs, if you will, that our young people, a lot of them are grandchildren of our members. They're taught very, very early to play at the level that you're capable of playing at. That's one of the big reasons we put in these three new team areas. And there wasn't any expense to it. It's not like we're bringing in a golf course architect out to develop 3 new tee boxes. They're basically markers on the fairway, and you know, in 3 different locations. And we've just now printed scorecards that come from those distances. So it's just, you know, really an education part. You know, the other part of the education, and I see this in private clubs, because of, you know, the average age of a lot of our members, they still want to refer to the forward tees as the ladies' tees and whatever. You know, that's a big education piece, I think. You know, it can be forward. There's nothing wrong with playing from a forward tee.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just need to paint those blocks a different color.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And red takes a little bit of that stigma away for a lot of the older players. We had, when we developed the PGA Southern California Golf Club, a set of teeing areas called the Learner's Loop. And the golf course played at about 4,200 yards, and it was really ideal for people just learning and for seniors. And it's interesting when you think about how simple it really is within an 18-hole golf course to create 2 or 3 different looks just by putting teeing areas.
We have a setup at Hacienda. When we did the renovation, the remodel, about 8 years ago, that was one of the things that the club wanted to engage, understanding the fact that it was going to be a thing for the future, that to have forward tees. And so we incorporated probably about, I'm going to say at least 9 forward tees. So the golf course plays from the green tees, we call it the green tees, where most of the beginners, the seniors, a lot of the ladies are playing from that. In fact, some of the ladies are starting to have their events. They have 2 events now from those tees, and they've really enjoy having those events from those tees. But in any event, it plays on ground, I'm going to say close to 5,000 yards, maybe a little less than that. And it's rated, you know, the SCGA has a rating from the SCGA, and we try to encourage, especially the beginners, the kids when we have junior golf, not only for the bigger boys to play from the green tees, but also for the little ones. We'll take them over to the 100-yard marker or the 150-yard marker and have their tournaments from there. So there are a lot of things that private clubs are doing and can do. Going back to the pace of play or the pledge with the SCGA, I mean, one of the things that I joined about, I made the pledge about, I'm going to say 30 to 60 days ago, and got my little badge thing, my little tag, thank you. And I was playing Saturday with my group at a public facility, and I started to push them a little bit because we were falling behind. And when they started complaining, I pulled out my little tag and I said, "Guys, I made the pledge, and hopefully you will make yours too." So that's one way you can encourage
That's good.
people.
That's what Stu was saying, is that the individual can really encourage others.
Exactly.
It feeds it.
How do you all encourage your golfers to follow the signage, and how do you encourage them when we talk about hole placement, we talk about placing your golf car in a certain area that's going to save time from the putting green to the next tee, or even for the people who carry their equipment to place? How do you educate the players in that regard? What do you use? Signage? Do you use paper? Do you use video? What do you use to do that?
Well, a lot of golf courses, and private clubs is not much of an issue because most of the members do know where they're going. And so that really isn't an issue, but for the public facilities, signage is definitely one of the ways that you can do to direct people, direct traffic. Park the cars here on the greens, the easiest access to the green, or tees. But it's something that the whole industry needs to really embrace and teach. Specifically, I mean, I know we were talking about earlier about the PGA professionals making that part of their deal,
Right.
to educating the new people coming on board and learning the game to teach them about pace of play, how important it is, and how much they will enjoy golf if they play golf, ready golf, and they play at a good pace.
And simple things like adding up your scores, not while you're sitting or standing on the putting green, right? You just move on and do it later.
Absolutely, cleaning your club after you hit a shot, instead of, getting back in your bag and cleaning your club, putting it in there, just get on the cart, go to the next shot.
Take your sand bottle
Exactly.
with you to where you're going to play your shot from, and you don't have to go
Absolutely.
back and forth.
What we find is foursomes are playing together. The cart people tend to stay together. So I'm going to hit my shot and sit here and watch you hit your shot, and then I'm going to go over here and take you to your ball. Whereas we find one of the ways we've sped up play is to drop someone off and help them with their yardage, and then go to your ball. And when he's done hitting, he can start to walk either towards the green or back towards the cart, and then off you go.
There's a fine line too sometimes,
Social.
because it's a social game and you want to see your buddy hit a shot. You don't want to just be playing so quickly that no one is mindful of what's going on. Because part of the fun is applauding your pal for hitting a great golf shot. But it's simple what you're saying. I mean, you can accomplish both, and you don't have to always be together in the same place. You can be apart and still accomplish a quicker pace, and at the same time enjoy.
Well, and you're gonna meet each other on the putting green, and you're gonna meet each other on the next teeing ground, so you have great opportunity for the social piece of the game, where you're gonna spend most of your time, really, on the putting green and the teeing ground. So you have that as part of the social aspect of it. And when you talk about that, then all of a sudden, wherever you place your golf car, or wherever you place your clubs, as simple as placing your clubs between the hole location and the next tee, you talk about saving significant amount of time there alone.
Absolutely.
And, if you're going to save 5 seconds per person by doing that, that's a significant number. And if we're talking about saving, let's just say, a minute a hole and 18 minutes around, then it doesn't take long for that to add up on one golf hole. That's for sure.
I agree with you.
What else do we do to educate? And I know it's been mentioned a couple times that in golf instruction that the PGA professionals should take more of a role in educating our people, our students, in regards to pace of play. Where that's been a little bit of a deterrent, not a deterrent, but that's been a little bit of a challenge in the past. Because most people, when they take golf lessons, they want to see the ball get in the air immediately, and don't want to take a lot of time when it comes to the other pieces of education that are out there. So I think it's kind of a retraining, not only with our PGA professional, but with the student as well, to say, hey, if you're going to enjoy the game more if you play it in this manner. So I think that's a challenge that's out there that would be pretty important.
Well, I think so too, and I think any golf professional that's about to take a beginner under his or her wings should take them on the golf course before they ever hit a golf ball. Should show them how the ball machine works, what the ball washer on the tee does, which blocks mean what, and all the different colors. Talk a little bit about sand bunkers, and just give people a sense of propriety so that when they do get out to play golf, they're not mystified by all of this. Stand here when someone's playing a shot, park here when you're playing a shot. And I think that you can transition to the golf course then much more easily, because a lot of times you'll give a series of 6 golf lessons, that old antiquated format, and then just turn people loose to go play golf, and they have no concept at all of what's going to occur on the golf course itself. So I think there's a lot of education that can happen in that first hour that makes people feel much more comfortable.
Yeah, and especially if, let's take Get Golf Ready with the 5-lesson program that gives you plenty of time if you have a group of people in that format to talk about how to improve on not only your game on the golf course, but your speed of play on the golf course. So there's plenty of opportunities to do that.
The beginners will definitely listen. They're there to
That's right.
absorb the information and will very accepting. I mean, they were very receptive to the concept of to anything that the PGA Pro is teaching them. And I think the two things that are extremely important for them to enjoy the game is pace of play, which is one of them in golf course etiquette. If the PGA professional could emphasize that during the series of lessons, whether it would be Golf Ready or whatever it might be, whatever session it might be, it would make that person really be prepared, so when he gets out on the golf course, will enjoy the game.
I sure agree. And it's fun too for a brand new player to actually be on the golf course. You take away a lot of the mystery right off the bat. Talk a little bit about architecture, and it's fun.
I know the pros at our course have really been great. If I go in to see our head pro or one of the assistants, I'll go in and say, hey, where are they at? And they're, oh, he's out giving a lesson. And a lot of times it's a great thing to go over to the driving range tee and they're not there. They're out giving a course lesson. I know that can't happen at, places that have 70, 80,000 rounds at a public facility every year, but I think a lot of the private places who also, cross over into the public golf course ranks can do those on-course lessons. It's a great way to give a lesson and say, okay, right after you hit a shot, this is what you do, and let's go. And it's been awesome.
Speaking of staffs, how staffs can help the players. A well-run golf operation, as we all know, has a lot of very competent and intelligent employees. And some of the strategies that your hosts, or call them marshals or what you like, can employ are replacing golf balls. Don't let anyone lose a golf ball. Replace it. Stop the search if someone were to misdirect a shot. Rake sand bunkers for players. Employees that are out there hosting on the golf course should know enough to help search for golf balls, jump out of their golf car, rake a bunker, attend a flag stick, and help people play more quickly.
One of the issues that we have at San Gabriel, and we're real fortunate, our director of golf, Alistair Phillip, and our head golf professional, Wade Jones, are very much into teaching on the golf course. They do a lot of that, and they even do, when we get a new member, an introductory period includes a round of golf, 9 holes I believe it is, with one of the professionals. But one of the issues that we have, and I'm not sure, it's one of those kind of counter things to pace of play, and it's something that I think our golf course superintendents are concerned about, and that is the raking of sand traps, fixing of ball marks, all of those things that take a little time, that some of our members and some of our players, when they are put basically on the clock and they're being encouraged to play a lot quicker, aren't taking care of those little manicuring pieces that need to be done. And those of us that end up following, we find that we're fixing 3 and 4 and 5 ball marks every time we step on a green, but it's, I guess it's the counter to the pace of play a little bit.
Well, I'll throw out a term widely used in golf, course management. We talk about that a lot as far as player skill and being a great player playing tournament golf. But how often do you see course management come into play with pace of play? You've got a player that you're playing with who's not having a great day, out there still pulling driver from the bag, still spraying it into the tall grass, going through ball searches, and we all know the 5-minute ball search can take up a lot of time during a round. At golf, Hacienda, you guys have a little bit of the tall native area around the golf course. So I think, in that process that we're talking about with PGA professionals and being able to take these playing lessons onto a golf course, walking players through, educating them on, hey, driver's a great club to put out there, but driver 3-wood, 3-iron, whatever it is, you're still laying up, let's get the ball in play and keep moving forward. And it's a function of speeding up play and also improving score at the same time. I think a lot of times maybe it's perceived as only improving your score, but there's a lot of that is out there as far as our course management goes as players to help us increase our pace.
There's also an education about a provisional ball. that is not often utilized by the average player. And there's a waste of time, right?
Absolutely. Rule 3-3, allowing a player to play 2 balls when Addis procedure exists.
How about, speaking of that, excuse me, we have 2 rules experts, not to say the rest of you aren't rules experts, but we know we have 2 in the room. In marking the golf course, it's got a little bit ahead, but I think we can kind of put this into one flow. In marking the golf course and setting up the golf course, especially I've heard many times that if we mark the golf course with all red lines for lateral water hazard, that can improve your pace of play. That if I have one thought in my mind and I can go up and I can find a point and make my drop, it's going to save time. Do you guys see that in competitions or your experiences?
Yeah, I think there's potential for a red lateral marked hazard to help speed up play, because I think people are most comfortable with the 2 club lengths option of taking the relief, and then another option that would often speed up play is providing that drop zone as an additional option, where if people see the drop zones right there, that's probably their easiest and quickest solution to just go drop in the drop zone rather than figuring out one of their other options on the water hazard rule. Would you agree?
I would agree completely. It eliminates confusion. Like you said, it's always the 1 drop procedure, which you can use the 2 club lengths or any of the other 4 dropping procedures, and it does seem to save time. And the drop zone is absolutely probably the most underutilized piece of course marking.
Do people recognize what a drop area is, a drop zone is? I mean, the typical golfer out there.
There's a sign on it.
If there's a sign on there, but
They don't sometimes, you're right.
that might be a question.
The nine deck.
Just go out there and drop whatever.
Which goes into
Yeah.
player education, of course. What about out of bounds? You know, there's conversation, and I think it's been stimulated again, the conversation, at least from what I've heard, that let's do away with the stroke and distance and just go as near as possible where we think the ball went out of bounds and dropped. Do you think that's valid? Do you think that's a time-saving procedure? Again, two rules experts in the room.
Well, it's definitely a time-saving procedure, but I don't think the USGA would ever change the stroke and distance rule. They're going to speak of the provisional ball option, which will help save time to play a provisional ball. And for casual recreational golfers out there, you know, you can still, if you don't want to go all the way back after a lost ball, you can still drop a ball where it went out of bounds, and you can still post a score for that hole. You would just, for handicapping purposes, post par plus whatever you would have made on that hole. So handicapping purposes cover potentially not playing by the rules when you're dealing with an out of bounds drop, but unfortunately the USGA is not going to change that rule in the near future. But player education kind of goes along with that. Knowing the rules helps give you strategic options, and knowing the rules could help potentially help you speed up your game if you do utilize the provisional ball rule correctly.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think there's also some sentiment in the golf community of why am I always having to drop a golf ball when I'm taking relief from something? How come I can't just place it within the prescribed area? And you think about dual drops and now having to come back and find a place to place it, and the ball won't come to rest, and so there are concerns in there as well, I think, from the golf community as far as pace of play goes with the rules. But will the USGA ever change that? I don't think they're ever going to take chance out of the game, and I think that's probably a firm and steady stance that they'll take. But at the same time, that's another thing out there in the rules, or things that could potentially change over time that would affect pace in positive ways.
And Tom was talking about golf course marking and definition. A lot of golf courses are using red stakes to denote native areas so that you're not on that constant search. It doesn't necessarily have to be a water-based problem, right?
Rob mentioned Hacienda, and it took us quite a bit of education with some of the members, and a lot of help from the SCGA and support from the SCGA to try to get most of those areas marked red. And I'll tell you what, it certainly made life a lot easier, not only for us maintaining the golf course, but for the pro shop also, as far as marking the golf course, but also for the players. I mean, ball goes in there, you just know, try to figure out where he went, and drop another ball, and off you go. I can guarantee you that it certainly speed up play at our facility. Not an easy golf course, but certainly anything you can do to speed up the process.
What about the height of rough cuts? I know you have one philosophy because of Hacienda. What do y'all do with rough cuts? Does that come into play with when you start thinking about pace of play?
Sure. I mean, in the desert, I think the community that we have is such that we're not all playing on the tour. You know, we're not all real interested in being challenged every single day. We're out there to enjoy the game, and a lower rough height is what we usually maintain across the board out in the desert. We have probably there isn't a single club in the desert that's under or over 2 inches, or even an inch and 3/4. Most of them are an inch to an inch and a half, and I think that's a huge deal. But there's also, you know, from a superintendent standpoint, there's also a turf variety. You know, there's some fescues that you just can't maintain at that height. You have to mow them at, you know, 2 to 3 inches and above, just because of the nature of the growth of the plant.
And you're using a rotary mower for that.
Yeah, and then
stuff,
you're
right?
using a rotary mower, and those can't mow as low, and there's different aspects of things like that that come into play. I will say one thing about the hazards of working and growing up at a course in San Antonio that had a tremendous amount of native area. Before they ended up mowing it all down, they introduced the environmentally sensitive areas, red stakes, green cap, where it was a mandatory drop. No searching for your ball. It's a mandatory drop, and then you just have to hit. And there's a line there, just red stake, just like a hazard. Same penalty, not stroking distance, just right there. And you go on about, and that sped up a ton of play with those environmentally sensitive
You know,
areas.
and as annoying as it was to try and get a golf course developed years ago because of endangered species and environmentally sensitive areas, it really was a service to the golfing community to have those areas, because you can play more quickly as a result of not being allowed to go in there.
Well, a golf ball is 1.68 in diameter, and you know, in a lot of cases, and I understand the grasses and such, and you mow the rough an inch, or you mow the rough an inch and a half, or you mow the rough at 3/4. It's going to give that player the opportunity to see the top of that golf ball, and that's going to save in my experience, a huge amount of time in regards to your round of golf, and even even the cut from the front of the tees area to where the fairway starts, the closely mown area starts. Sometimes, and especially when we're for women players, and to get across that area sometimes is a challenge.
Right.
And even tee placement for certain par threes, and we try to make players carry the ball too far in a lot of cases, and I know in course setup that's a significant factor in saving time.
You know, when we're talking about setting up the golf courses, we always have to be conscientious about what the needs are for an event. For instance, you know, if you have an event that's going to have a lot of players, Monday events at Hacienda, we hardly ever allow them to play anything but 2 lanes. It's at 6,200 yards. It's more than enough golf course, and still with that, we still have rounds of 5+ hours. But you know, for us, certainly for a daily setup, we try to maintain a yardage because of a certain yardage because of the rating. But at the end of the day, I mean, there's certain holes, like on the weekend, we shoot a little bit, then we just push it forward. You know, the average player doesn't need to be punished with a certain length. I mean, 500 plus par fours is just not in the books. I mean, maybe for you, you hit the ball a long ways, but not for me. I mean, I just hit the ball 250 yards, and that's too much golf. Yeah, that's it. That's all I can do.
You know what we see too is
I thought you were
still
in the 190 category.
Boned up a little.
Yeah. is a lot of players don't embrace that age-old notion that it's okay to wave the game behind you through, right? To just step aside and or to wave a group up on a par 3 hole. And there's an educational process that probably needs to be restored when we provide golf instruction.
That seemed to gone away.
It
In
has.
the old days, yeah, there was a lot of that. You get to a par 3,
So
it was
sensitive,
standard.
right?
It was standard. It was a sign. I remember having signs out on the back of the green. way, as soon as you, and it was mandatory, as a matter of fact, in some of the golf courses, and that seemed to have gone away.
Well, I think there's been a lot of liability discussion in that regard, a lot of liability issues, that who takes the responsibility for doing that? If the facility takes responsibility, then the facility may be liable if somebody gets hit.
If they're encouraging.
If they're encouraging
Yeah,
it.
right,
If the
right.
players take the responsibility, then that's a totally different thing.
I forgot we're in California, maybe that would work.
Yeah.
Well, and it goes sort of counter to the stay up with the foursome in front of you or the group in front of you. If you're keeping up, why would you have somebody go through it?
I tell you guys, I truly enjoy the game. I play as much as I possibly can. Last week, last Friday, as a matter of fact, we played a choose-ups with a group of members at Hacienda. We somehow ended up with a fivesome, and we played 4.5 rounds, and it seemed like it was forever. It was just not enjoyable, obviously there was a lot of finger pointing. Okay, you're slow. No, you're slow. And at the end of the day, it's just fivesomes. I think is also one of the biggest culprits for slowing the game. While it seems attractive at the beginning to get that extra revenue, at the end of the day, I think it's really costing the operators money.
Yeah, I mean, there's that extra golf car factor, and it really sort of became about commerce as opposed to anything else, being able to sell an additional player in a group. But I'd mentioned to somebody the other day that it's an unknown thing here in the States, but to play in foursome games, that's fun. And, you'll play much more quickly when you're only using one golf ball for two people.
Well, needless to say, one of the great events in Southern California, well, maybe even in the country, the Cravens, how that is played, and we would send, for our qualifying, we'd send out sixsomes.
Yeah.
So you're able to accommodate a lot of people. One of the things, and it's unfortunate we don't have a representative today, but and there's not a lot that can be done about this issue, but our golf course architects in some respects haven't done us a favor. I'll use an example. I was telling Jeff before we started today. I played with, we had one of our club manager events down in San Diego yesterday, and we played at a club that I know it's got a very young membership, because I've been there at this club on a Wednesday night, and I see the people who were there in blue jeans, enjoying wine and small plate meals. They all have children. And I can promise you, this club we played at yesterday, there's no kids playing golf there. Because if you don't have a golf cart, you're not playing golf there. The distance between tees. One of the tees took us 5.5 minutes to get from the green to the next tee. My point being, our golf course architects have to, in the future development of courses,
If there are going to be.
Exactly.
And then there was that great architectural scare of the 80s when everything had to be ridiculously difficult with moguls and completely oriented to specific targets. And if your ball were misdirected, you may never be seen again. I mean, it was just punishing. And there are a lot of those golf courses that are still trying to do business today.
Yeah.
And it's not easy.
It's amazing. We don't see any of our majors play on those kind of courses.
That's right.
No.
Everybody tried to tiger-proof that whole scenario of the 90s courses, late 90s, early 2000 courses. Everybody wanted to tiger-proof their golf courses so Tiger couldn't go tear them up when he was on his run. And it was just a mindset. But I was going to comment too, Stu, to Rancho La Quinta, to some of the desert golf courses, and you look at the palms, and you look at some of those facilities out there, and the desert's figured it out. The 3/4 of an inch to an inch cut, the greens that run 9 to 10.5, that they're always smooth, they're always at a good speed. You ask anybody about a desert round of golf that they've played in over 4.5 hours round, and it's crickets. Nobody has a conversation about that. It's 3:45, 4 hours, 4:15. And to speaking to that, it's design. A lot of it's design. A lot of it's the course setup that we've talked about, the maintenance. And I love to suggest that the desert be used as a model of the design and all the different practices for pace of play.
Yeah, a lot of it was visual instead of playability.
Right, that's right. I mean, you look at the stadium course, and then you go and perhaps play at Tamarask, and it's a whole,
Yeah.
wherever you hit the ball at Tamarask, you can see it, unless it's in someone's yard. And, but it's very, very easy to get around, and flat is good.
Definitely a lot of, expectations. In defense of the architects, yeah, you said it that the demand was to create monsters out there, and they certainly were capable of doing that. I think, and I've seen it in the last few years, they recognize the fact that, yeah, if you ask to create a monster, you can do that, but along the way, you're gonna have to make sure that the golf course is playable for all. And, adding yardages of 4,200 yards for the forward tees, for the beginners, I think that is a pretty common thing on golf courses, or new developments right now, if there are any new developments going on right now. I think there's only 2 in the country that I'm aware of right now. So, it comes down to meeting expectations. You go to a private club, golf course set up for the club championship, and I laugh at this sometimes, and I hope my members won't see this, but if they do, oh well.
Well, I just maligned the stadium course, so I'll have to edit this part.
The fact that they want the golf course tough, and I'm going, guys, why? You have 10 guys that can possibly play, or they can win the championship, and all 10 of you can't break par. You guys can't even break an egg, I'm sorry. And the winning score ends up being 15 over for 2 rounds, and I'm going, really? And you want the golf course tougher? You want the greens faster? So we can punish the other 100 players that we got that are playing that day? I said, I'm sorry, can't do that. So I've seen them develop some standards that are pretty, talk about the green speeds, 9.5 to 10.5. Very, very benign, very playable for all the members, for the average player, and that's where our focus is right now. Yep, if we have an SCGA event, we can step it up. We can get the golf course, to meet those demands also. But
we talked earlier too about the whole operational side of this in helping amateurs play more quickly. If your tee times are at 9-minute intervals, for instance, it's critical that nobody go off the tee until 9 minutes is elapsed, even if the game in front is long gone. And it's too often and too common for a 9-minute interval to become 5 or 6 because somebody happens to be playing the first hole quickly, and then by the time you're at the 3rd tee, you just want to jump off the bridge, right?
Yeah, and I think one of the things is, as we go down our list, I think there's 2 things that intersect. Is for us as operators, and as far as golfer education, I think one thing that I didn't even realize, I mean, you learn everything at school except how to manage people, right? So one of the things I never realized until I started really working with a large crew was that the crew doesn't know anything unless they play golf, about golf. And so educating them that when a member sees you on a mower, they're not going to hit. And so educating the crew on how to move about the golf course so that they're not holding up play. Because a lot of times we've found out that it's really not the members sometimes, that it is ourselves that are holding up play. And then we figured out that, okay, if we mow rough in a certain direction, like if we go counterclockwise to the pace of play, or if we say, hey, when you see a group coming, quickly weed it as much as you can, step out of the way as you see them approach their ball. So they're gonna say, hey, I'm free to hit, I'm not going to hold anybody up, and because a lot of members are really scared that they're going to hit somebody that's next to a green, edging a bunker, cart path, or something like that. So educating our crew has been a huge part of
Yeah, you talk about a few seconds.
There's
a few seconds right there. One more question, and we need to take a break. Rakes and bunkers. Is it better for pace of play to have the rakes? I know what the standard is, but is it better to have the rakes in the bunkers or out of the bunkers to save time?
If you ask me as a player, I would like to have them in the bunkers. It's easier. If they're done properly in the middle of the bunker, it shouldn't be an issue. Player goes in there, the rake's already in there. Ball is in there, gets his shot, gets a rake, rakes his footprints, throws the rake right back in the middle of the bunker. A lot of different opinions about that though.
Yes, there is.
And hopefully that, like I would agree to a certain point, is if we could place the rakes in the middle of the bunker. That may sound weird, but we never get weird lies on the side or anything like that. And then hopefully, if we could do that, put the rake right in the middle of the bunker so it's actually pretty easily accessible from all areas, that we could develop an acceptable standard of local rules that, yes, I can pick that rake up if it's in my way right now. And that's okay.
And I think it's important, from a player's standpoint, is also, after you rake the bunker, to put that rake back in an accessible, non-intrusive location. Because so many times we might have an awkward lie, hit our shot, and then nonchalantly just put the rake back down next to where we just played, not thinking about how it's gonna affect the pace of play of the people behind us, and potentially the play of the people behind us. So I think rakes should be in accessible locations, non-intrusive areas, but after you play a shot, you should always think about, let me make sure I return it to that similar location.
One thing that I'd like to touch on what you said, Stu, about educating our staff. That is something that we do at SCNA. We have implemented as part of our training process when we have new hires, and we do get a lot of compliments about that. But we also train them on assistant members, players finding golf shots, and not so much as pointing. Is get off the mower. Take the player to where the ball is, and that also helps speed up play. But that's a great point. That's something that us, from the golf course management side of things, could help in the pace of play by training our staff.
Or take a cue from the majors that we see, or any other tournaments that we see on TV. Why not have a bundle of flags in the marshals' carts, where you see these guys sitting in the landing areas on tournaments are always flagging the pros' balls, so they can walk right to it, go to it, and hit it. Whereas a marshal could see a ball land and just simply flag the ball and keep going, and they could see where their ball was.
Regarding the rakes in the bunkers, out of the bunkers, in my almost 19 years at SCNA, we have gone around 3 times. So when I'm asked by the members, where do their rake should be in your opinion? I said, I don't have one. Floating 6 of one, half of the other. Where do you want
Some in,
A
some out.
hovering stick about 10 feet in there.
What would Willie Watson have wanted? That's what you need to have.
That's true.
That's right.
Well, this was a great conversation this morning, and just like to know, as a wrap-up, what you all think about, and what you think about at your clubs, and any other hints we might have as we move forward to save 18 and save 18 minutes per round, and make it more enjoyable, more fun for everyone. So, Rafael, comments?
Well, we heard a lot of great things here that will help the process, will help speed up play. From our perspective, I think some of the things that we can do is to convince our operators or our members to set up the golf courses properly, have the proper green speeds for the proper events. We try to match the green speeds for the events. Have the heights of cut, the proper heights of cuts in the rough, which there's nothing wrong with having heights of cuts of 1 inch or 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches. Playing the U.S. Open rough, which I had the opportunity to do last year at the Olympic Club, it was just no fun at all. And also, just setting up, promoting, feed it forward. I think Stu can touch on a few other things like educating our staff.
Michael?
Yeah, I think it's incumbent on the individual golfer to take responsibility and take the initiative to be focused on the importance of pace of play throughout a round, and everybody make the effort to maintain the pace that the course requires or the tournament requires, and make an effort to keep up with that group in front or catch up to that group in front when you fall behind. So I think each individual golfer needs to take responsibility, look at their own game, and say, I'm going to be a solution to this pace of play issue.
I like that.
Stu?
Yeah, and like Rafael said, just the way we take care of the golf course, not every day is the club championship, not every day is the U.S. Open, not every day is this. It wants to be a challenge, we want it to be enjoyable. So hole locations, more middle or central to greens, our speeds, the way we operate as a maintenance team, around players, I think can all help in moving the players along, and making it just more enjoyable for them as they play.
We talked about a card earlier, and I know you use a card.
Yeah, at our club we have 2 cards. We have one that's a pace of play card, giving the members helpful hints on what they can do to increase their pace of play, whether that's grabbing in yardage for the rest of the group on a par 3, or parking the cart for another guy, putting or chipping. And we hand those out. We have also a maintenance day where we have a card that gives member and player reminders of how they're supposed to take care of the course and help other people take care of the course, with the philosophy of leave it better than you found it. And we actually go out on both golf courses. We have a pro and my assistant on one course, and we have another pro and myself on another course, standing at a par 3 or standing at a par 4, giving out the cards and kind of educating the golfers of how you're supposed to take care of the green and the teeing areas.
Bill said it earlier, maybe we can come up with a sample template of a card that we can post on our websites and people can use. That's a good idea. Yeah.
Well, I love this concerted effort and the fact that all of the allied associations are hoping to achieve the very same thing. And from the PGA professionals' perspective, I think that the more we can train beginning golfers on the golf course to the strategies that are involved in playing more quickly, the better we're going to be in the future. And the many operational components from staff members being involved and engaged in the player's experience and helping them play more quickly, whether it's searching for golf balls, raking bunkers and that kind of thing. I think we should all take ownership and try real hard to make a difference.
Here.
I think we have to realize that our society is changing a little bit, and the element of time is very important to our players and the members of our private clubs. That they don't want to spend the amount of time that some of our golf courses are requiring. So it's really the responsibility of all of ours to encourage the pace of play, to pick it up. For one, I want to see them off that golf course and into the bar as quickly as possible. So anyway, it's we appreciate the Club Managers Association. This is a big initiative of ours also. The Tee It Forward program has been successfully put into many of our clubs, and we hope that that will help with the pace of play.
I believe it was Stu earlier that says save 20 for 19, save 20 minutes for the 19th hole.
Absolutely.
That incremental revenue is happening.
You got it.
All right. Right.
Use it as you will. I'd just like to speak to the combined effort to see the amateur bodies, to see professional bodies, to see the Golf Course Superintendents Association, to see the CMAA, and for people to take note. This is golf-wide. This is the entire industry really putting a foot forward, saying this is something we want to work on. It's something we want to provide information for. We want to put the onus on the players, but we also want to put the onus on each and every one of ourselves to do what we can to try to rectify this and make it better. And lastly, as individuals and golfers, this game is built around respect and honor and integrity. The pace of play, when you affect the pace of others in the field, it's not withstanding or upholding those same ideals as the game requires in just the way the rules are written, and just to change the perspective, on pace and on being on the golf course.
Good
Well,
manners.
Good comments, and we really appreciate it. Thanks to everyone, and in our effort to save time, save just a little bit of time, and I think that we look forward to that, and we appreciate your time. Thanks.
Thank you.